Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Iowa 911 Communications Council meeting for Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Kara, could you roll call?
Sure. Chris Jasper? Or Shanna Grover?
Yeah, Shanna's here. Chris is at a meeting.
Jeff Miller?
Here.
Mike Bryant?
Here.
Eric Daw?
Here.
Sean Snyder? Or Chris Hare? Or later, you can go to them, not yet officially.
Not yet officially, but eventually.
Josh Duden?
Here.
Rob Denner?
Here.
Adam Welk?
Here.
Taylor Teeple? I think you got a form.
Okay, thank you.
Do you need to extra volume of it or something?
I am working on getting it. I don't know. Normally it just goes. Hey, real quick before we continue, can you all on the line hear us okay? More so like when others talk, not just me?
I can hear you loud and
Okay.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good enough for everyone? Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve today's agenda? All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 All right. Again, same sign. Likewise, could I get a motion to approve the July 11th, 2024 minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Say second. Dude, no second.
There we go. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Again, same sign. And motion carried. Wait, you have a report.
Thank you. All right, actually, before I jump into my slides, I will walk through the program financials, starting with quarterly payments. For those in the room, it should have been a handout as you entered. For those online, I am displaying it for you. Really nothing to note, it is a regular quarterly payment. Now, one thing to point out, and it is also reflected on the quarterly expenditure form, we did not do a end of year pass through or a fifth quarter quarterly remittance. And to walk you through that, if you want to take a look at the expenditure report, you can see the amount that we took in this quarter was just over 8 million. You can see the interest, and then the prepaid card revenue was 602,000. Kind of walking you through, if you continue going down the sheet there, you can see the quarterly expenditures were just over 5 million at 5.1 to bring the total payments to 8.4 million, which means we transferred 225,000 into the operating surplus. So the next box down, if you're familiar with this sheet at all, you know, is kind of a snapshot of the operating surplus on a quarterly basis. And this is the time of year that we normally do end of year pass through. And what that means is anything that's remaining in the surplus, minus the catastrophic reserve, we pass through equally to the PSAPs. That number, of course, has been dwindling as the amount in the surplus has been dwindling. It's something that we've talked about now for about 2 years. So this time of year, per Iowa Code 34A, we look at how much revenue we received for the year, and per code, we are able to reserve 12.5% of that for a catastrophic reserve. The idea being if we had to replace a data center or a significant amount of 911 infrastructure for whatever reason, tornado, natural disaster, man-made disaster, we'd have the capital reserve to do that. And that comes out to about $4 million is that 12.5%. So when you factor that in, while there is the 3.3 million in the surplus right now, when you factor in the 12.5% catastrophic reserve, you get to a negative number on how much is available to pass through. So if you remember last year, what we did was basically hold in reserve a number less than 12.5% in order to make end of year payments. This year, that didn't work out. Basically, there's not enough money in the surplus to maintain the catastrophic reserve and make payments for end of year. So when we did the quarterly surcharge quarterly surcharge remittance, that really did kind of wrap up the fiscal year on the financials. So if you continue on to the box below, you see basically the annual surplus summary. Basically, it just shows all 4 quarters worth of kind of the box above, if that makes sense. So you can see for the year, we ended up moving 301,000 into the operating surplus. But if you go down a couple of rows and you see the year-to-date virtual consolidation, you see that we spent 1.2 million of virtual consolidation. So we spent more out of the surplus on those projects than we were able to move into the surplus, if all that makes sense. You're following the numbers there. Any questions on the financials? If not, I will continue on. All right, so as part of that discussion on the financials, most of you are probably aware that for a number of months, there's been a work group convening to talk through funding ideas and proposals. So after a number of months, we've begun socializing those ideas at various PSAP supervisor group meetings, had an initial call with the Telephone Association. We'll have another call with them later, have a meeting set with the Sheriffs and Deputies Association, and we'll continue to basically socialize that funding proposal with kind of a target date of next month to talk about that at the council meeting. So really what we're doing now is continuing to get feedback from stakeholders, not really necessarily expecting things to change, but if there is a strong feedback towards any of the things that kind of we've come up with so far, we want to be able to make those changes before we present it to the council and eventually hopefully get approval to run that as a department bill this upcoming legislative session. After having the disaster recovery vehicle, which is goes by about 5 different names, it's also the mobile command vehicle that DPS has. It's also disaster recovery PSAP. After having that for about 2 years and never using it in a real event, we've now used it twice in 2 months. It was deployed for about half a day to Madison County. Their PSAP sustained a lightning strike, which fried a lot of their equipment. So they took 911 calls out of that vehicle for about a half a day. Again, took 911 calls out of it. It wasn't an extraordinary amount of calls, but it was still actively taking 911 calls out of that vehicle. So just wanted to update everyone on that. It remains available for all PSAPs who might need it in a disaster or even in a planned event. So just remember that capability exists should you have to leave your PSAP for whatever reason. Updated everyone last month on the draft report and order out of the FCC, phrased or termed facilitating implementation of next generation 911 services. That was the kind of the long time notice of proposed rulemaking and effort that the FCC undertook to kind of set the default for wireline cost recovery, as well as really provide the default setting of who has the authority within the states to authorize and require where telephone companies meet. So that did end up passing. It passed unanimously, 5-0. So the next steps for that are the FCC will have to put that into the Federal Register. We are still, to a point, analyzing what that means specifically to Iowa. As I said, it's kind of the FCC, what that report and order does is set a default. It also allows then for states and local jurisdictions to do something other than that. But that is kind of the nationwide, again, I hate to use the word default because that's what it is. It's just the default. States or local territories, local jurisdictions can override that if they so choose, if we wanted to put an agreement in place or something like that. But again, at the moment, what the report and order does is basically set it so it's a cost of doing business to get the wireline traffic to the entry point of the 911 system. Finally, on this slide, we have been made aware that one specific EMD provider has introduced basically a 988 protocol. At the moment, what we've learned is that comes with an additional cost. We're looking into that. We're looking for more information. We're looking to see if other EMD providers will look to introduce a 988 protocol. We're looking at kind of the long-term plan there, if there will always be a cost associated with it, or what kind of the industry is thinking. So we have already talked with the 988 folks in Iowa. They were very interested in this and to see where the conversation went. For those that might not be familiar, we did work with the 988 folks on a protocol specific to Iowa, along with our pilot project. So there's a handful of PSAPs that have that transfer capability, and there's training that goes into it. And, you know, with this becoming maybe more prevalent, it might save a lot of steps at the local level and a lot of effort within the state if there's kind of a standardized approach. So more to come on that, but just wanted to let everyone know we are aware of it and we're looking into more information to find out kind of next steps on where we might want to take that in the future for Iowa. GIS grants, basically, if I've talked about this before, same benchmarks as last year. So through 1 month, we continued to bat 1,000. All 99 counties met the benchmarks. As a reminder, we pay that out on a quarterly basis. So after 2 more months, we will pay that first quarter's grant award out to all those who qualified. You do have one training application to consider. Polk County submitted a training fund application for EMD in an amount just under $10,000. Any questions for me before I turn it over to Zetron for an update on shared services?
Blake, I had one quick question. What, if any, was the impact of the CrowdStrike on the statewide 911?
Yeah, good question. So we did send out a survey, and there was about a 50% response rate from PSAPs, which is fairly standard when we send out surveys. And about 50% of that had impacts at PSAPs. Now, that's not specific to 911. Most of the time, it was CAD systems, radio systems, administrative lines. But again, it was about 50% had something to report. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions for me? All right. Lynn or Paul from Zetron, if you want to update us on shared services.
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Pottawatomie County is going live in September. All on track for that. Next slide. That's what the current map looks like. We got Pottawatomie and Clinton that we're working on. Next slide. And just an update on the online portal with the virtual learning management system. Just a reminder that this is available to all shared services PSAPs and all PSAPs with other call taking equipment. It's available to everybody in Iowa. We currently have 31 agencies signed up. Anyone that's interested, just give Christy Wade an email and she'll get you signed up. Next slide. And just a reminder, we have a regular newsletter. This is available to anybody in Iowa. And just send me an email at lynn.warren@zetron.com if you'd like to be added to the distribution list. Any questions for me? Thank you.
All right, that concludes my report to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on, we have the train fund request that Blake mentioned for Polk County and in the amount of $95,6250. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on that claim? Okay. None. Do I have one to approve?
Miller will make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Again, same sign. And the motion is approved. Okay. Do we have any technical advisors? Hearing none, we'll move on to an update from Iowa Statewide Interoperable Communication Systems Board. Ms. Nichols.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just a quick update from me today. The first thing I will read off, the ISIX numbers that Scott Richardson sent to me. Radios on the system are 39,027. Talk groups are 3,309, and push to talks are over 3,126,159 for the month of July, just to be posted on that. A reminder that Central States Comex is happening next month, September 10th through the 13th. So I will not be here. I will be down there, not able to report out. Debbie Swift will also be around for me if there's any questions during that meeting, and then I'll also make a report at the board meeting. Skip final draft. I know we've been talking about that for a long time, but we wanted to get it right. And the very final draft has been sent to the contractors, so we should see that at the next ISIX board meeting in September. The state fair starts today, as you all know, so the ISIX group and Interoperability Bureau has a booth set up at the Hall of Law for all your friends to stop by and spin the wheel for a chance to earn a rubber duck. And then we did not have a meeting for our ISIX board in July, but we will have a regular meeting today following this meeting with our new board data. And just for the group, I just returned yesterday from National APCO. I was able to attend a number of quality presentations. One of those was on bidirectional amplifiers, antenna systems in buildings. So I got a lot of good information out of that as we are working on a new standard based on that for the ISIX board. That was one that was specifically of interest to me. There were a lot of other good presenters and a lot of interesting technology down there that I wish I could invest in. But it was fun to be down there and dodge a hurricane. And then also the next thing is that planning is continuing for a tri-state communications exercise that will be held with Iowa, Illinois, and Wisconsin. That's going to happen in 2025. So there'll be a tabletop in June and a functional exercise in September. Put that on your calendar if you have any interest in being involved in that. It's going to be on the east side of Iowa. It will happen in Dubuque. But if you are interested, there is a job form link out there. You can email me if you'd like that. To state that you have an interest and to be put on a mailing list or start to be included in some of the informationals that might go out on that. So, just let me know if you want to start, getting some more information on that. And that's all I have to do today, unless there's any questions for me.
Okay, thank you. All right, up next, an update from U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Cybersecurity, and Infrastructure Security. Mr. Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, 911 Council, and as always, thank you for the time to present today. We are going to do something a little bit different this morning. I have a colleague of mine on the line, cybersecurity advisor and cyber state coordinator for Iowa. Mr. Jim Hoffman is with us today. He's going to talk to us about a few things, including entity notification, along with CISA cyber services. So, Jim, if you're on the line with us right now, feel free to unmute, and the floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, the thing I wanted to talk about was entity notifications. Part of the CIRCIA Act of 2022 says that we at CISA have a duty to warn people if they're about to be hit with ransomware or if there's an ongoing attack or vulnerability that makes them very well exposed. When we find this information, whether it's from the dark web or wherever else it happens to come in from, we go ahead and try to notify the organizations by a phone call. As you can imagine, this is a rather difficult cold call to make if we have no pre-existing contact with that organization, because it's like, good morning, I'm from the federal government, I'm here to help, you have a vulnerability. We get a lot of hangups at that point, and I don't blame them, because that's the way, we're trained as cybersecurity people to do that. When we do make the notification, we give you all the information. We're not asking for information. We're just telling you, hey, this is a problem that you have that you may not be aware of. So please take the call. If you get a call from us, you can verify the identity of who it is to make sure that you're not getting a spam call. You just have to call or email CISA Central. There, the phone number is up on the slide. One of the problems we run into, though, is that we need a way to send you the information in a PDF document that does not go through your normal work system, because we don't want to tip the bad actors off. So if there was a alternate way that we can send you things out of band, that would be very, very useful to us. My ask for you on this particular thing is if you could send me your contact information. I'm not going to try to sell you anything for the government. I just want it so that in case something bad happens, I don't have to go digging through websites and try to find the right person to talk to at each organization. So any questions on the entity notification? Okay, next slide. Thanks. We do offer a lot of no-cost cybersecurity services. We can come to your organization and do assessments. We can do training. We can do technical services like scanning your network for your external IP addresses for potential vulnerabilities. We can do tabletop exercises. There's a huge amount of things that we can do for you. It's all no cost. You've already paid for it with your tax dollars, and we can do a lot of things. If you're interested, Chris has my point of contact information on his last slide, and that would be awesome. If you just get a hold of me, I would really appreciate it. And that's all I got, pending questions.
All right, thank you, Jim. We'll be sure that if there's any questions for you, we'll get those directed to you after the meeting today. A couple of new CISA products to talk about this month. One was released last week from a SafeCom group that's underneath CISA ECD. It's called Considerations for Public Safety Cloud Adoption. And this document highlights considerations that public safety organizations may need to think about if they're looking at using the cloud computing platform, as there are several out there now. This is a document that is designed to sanitize and boil things down into a checklist, so agencies have an easier time of identifying needs and scopes, thinking about what the requirements might be, and also a questionnaire to try to get key information out of a specific cloud provider. As an example, you are using cloud data, you are basically using someone else's computers to do your stuff. Where does that data go? There are ways you can try to get some information out of providers that will be providing this type of service, and this guide is designed to help agencies work through those considerations. This document is available on the CISA website at the link below, or you can email me directly and I will get you a copy of it. It is a very good read, and it's also a very short read, which is better. Next slide. It is School Safety Month, as is typical in Iowa in August. Students are starting to go back to school after the state fair. The School Safety Month campaign is out now. It's going to highlight resources, tools, and other types of events for the education community. Its main goal is to enhance security measures and build resilience against various hazards and threats. And we've seen a lot of them recently in the K-12 environment. This is a social media accounts, Facebook, Twitter, or X, or anything else we may have out there. We'll be pushing out updates on what these tools consist of and how to get access to them and how to distribute them as well. The main topics will cover cybersecurity, physical security, various types of assessments that we have for CISA, and other things that might be available to schools. 2 links to consider with this one. One is the CISA link directly, that's at the bottom of the slide, and of course, schoolsafety.gov is always a great resource for these types of things. On the next slide, we do have a new guide that's come out recently covering software acquisition. Cyber attacks have exploited vulnerabilities and weaknesses in cyber, and even now in supply chains for updates. Think back to SolarWinds, think of some of the other recent compromises we've had. This guide takes all that relevant information and attempts to consolidate it into a single document, and it includes some sort of framework for agencies to operate on. Government tends to have different needs than private enterprise, and this guide attempts to address some of those shortcomings. It does encompass all types of software, including commercial open source, contracted, cloud-based solutions, and any other type of application that might be used with the government. This is also on our website, or if you want a copy of it directly, just let me know, and I will get you a copy of it. That is a bit of a longer read, but it's also very good. Finally, new products. We have a Connected Communities Risk Postcard series that has hit the street. This was released on August 2nd, so as of last week. There are several postcards, and each one features basically risks connected to communities and smart cities, and is outlined in our cybersecurity best practices guide for smart cities. This does include appropriate mitigation recommendations for several risks. At this point, the risk postcard series includes 3 things. It talks about expanded and interconnected attack surfaces. So as your systems grow and capabilities are added, you start thinking about what kinds of holes or exposures have we opened ourselves up to. We also talk about the supply chain and vendors and how your software updates get to you, how they're provided, and risks that may be associated with that. Then also we talk about automation of operations. Automation brings forth a lot of efficiencies, but it also brings forth new considerations that agencies may need to be cognizant of. This, of course, also available on our website, or you can get in touch with me after the meeting and I'll get you copies. Finally, regional news of note. You heard Slick Nichols mention the Central State Comex coming up in the Joplin-Wawa area. That is from September 10th to 13th of this year. And of course, we have our annual interoperability markers update scheduled for tomorrow. If there's any key 911 questions that come from that assessment and update, we will of course direct those to the appropriate entities within the 911 group. That is my presentation for the day, Mr. Chair. I'm going to take the questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any upcoming legislative issues anyone would like to discuss? And hearing none. Any information sharing by council members? Okay. I don't have any new business or old business or travel requests. So is there any business from the floor inside the room? Okay, any of our virtual participants have anything they wish to speak on? Okay, well then I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Do I have a second? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.